everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So we are in October and it is officially spooky season. So today we are making ghosts. So I've got one on my sleeve too, little ghosties. So one of my former students from last year and the year before, elementary student, after school student, her mom reached out and said, oh, she's been taking crochet and she is curious on how to do a ghost. Could I help her out? And I thought, yes, that would be fun and delightful. So I went on Pinterest and I started scouring for ghost patterns. And I'm just going to take a moment because I don't know what is happening on Pinterest. But it was kind of a good reminder of why I don't go on there anymore to look for patterns, for instructions, for recipes even. So I realized that I really just used Pinterest for the images, for ideas, like for my classes and workshops and things. And I would just see something and then just kind of like do whatever and make it fit into whatever we were doing. So this was an interesting experience. So I found this adorable little ghost and I thought, oh, she would love that. It's so cute, just a little frilly, a little sassy. And then when I clicked on the link to read the article, this was the ghost that came up. Now, no shade to this ghost. It's a cute little ghost too, but it's obviously not the same ghost. So then I tried yet again and I found these two, this little duo over here, right? No, this is not who we're making. We're making this. Again, cute little ghost. I don't know whose patterns these actually are, and I don't know why they're not using the actual images of what the pattern is. I have my theories, but I'll keep them to myself for right now. Okay, so anyway, this kept happening. And then I was like, why am I torturing myself? I'm just gonna go on Google, which also led me to a frustrating situation. So I found this little ghost and I thought, okay, simple, let's keep it simple. I'm making this too complicated. And I tried the pattern and I ended up with this little guy. I mean, he's cute, okay? He is clearly not he's not tall. I mean, look at him. He's just a squatty little ghost. No shade to my squatty little ghost. We're not body shaming any ghosts. But he's kind of like a little Pac-Man ghost is what I thought. He kind of reminds me of a little Pac-Man ghost. And one thing I noticed about the pattern was that it works in the rounds, and anytime I work in the round, when you finish one round, you slip stitch and chain one to get to the next round. That was not mentioned anywhere in the pattern. There was one point where it said the initial chain one doesn't count as a stitch, and neither do the rest, but then it never, ever, ever says to slip stitch ever or to chain one ever again. And hello, ADHD brain here. Okay, that's not gonna work for me. So then I did that on my own. I added a little slip stitch and chain one, and we have his adorable little squatty friend. So this one, I mean, he's also cute. I was trying with the ruffles on the bottom at this point, and it's like, it kind of reminds me of like Spookly. Spookly, the square little pumpkin. So we will love them and adore them, but it wasn't working out. So ultimately, I decided I was making things too complicated and I was just gonna make my own stinking pattern, and I did. And we have this little guy. He's so cute. And it's a very, very simple. It's so easy. It's just basically just making a magic circle, chaining. It's just a very brief pattern. And I gave a little extra ruffles at the bottom, honestly based on a little drawing that my kid made. And then I gave it a little smiley face. So we're gonna make this little guy today, and and I'm actually making a bunch of them because my child decided that this is really, really cute. So I had the idea of, oh, you know what would be cute is if you just took these and like put a little string on them. Sorry, my camera is wobbling. I have a new situation today, normal. So pardon the wobble. So I was like, it would be really cute to put like a little string, you know, like the clear jewelry string or something, and or like make a little banner out of them to hang them up. And my kid was like, oh, I love that. Will you do that for me? And I was like, of course. So I'm making like a dozen of these, but today we're gonna make one and I'm gonna show you how to get the cute little face on it. Let's get spooky. So as I was digging in my bag trying to get all the things out, I forgot to mention I made this little guy too. And this little guy I kind of like. It's a little bit of a bell-shaped ghost. My child was like she's wearing like a princess dress or a ball gown, which is okay, but I do like this one too. So if you like this one, if you like this little bell-shaped ghost, right? Let's get a little close up. There she is standing up. If you do like this little ghost, let me know and I'll make another little video. I have the pattern right here. It's my whole, this was all the experimenting to ultimately come to this very, very simple, easy little guy. So for this project, you are going to need some yarn. I hope this shows up. If it doesn't seem to show up on the camera, I'll redo the video with a different color yarn, but I think it'll be okay. But a little bit of white yarn. I don't mind the orange ghosts either, you know, a little something different. These are just orange because it's what I had in my stash to experiment with. I am using the Red Heart Super Saver yarn. This was like $4 for the whole big skein of it. It is 7 ounces. It is a medium 4. It calls for a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. I am just using a 5 millimeter crochet hook. I feel like you could, I tried to do it with an even smaller crochet hook to see if I could get it a little tighter of a weave so that it would stand up on its own, but the 5 did fine. And this isn't like my favorite yarn ever in the world, I will say, but it's fine for like a project like this. It feels a little rough to me. So I think for something like this, something crafty, it is just fine. No need to spend big money on something that you may just have standing around or hanging from the ceiling or from the walls. And then you will need a stitch marker. Boom, so I have one right here. All right, let me roll my sleeves up a bit. Pardon the bright, not very Halloween-y Band-Aid. I cut myself on this, taking it, like putting it in the bag earlier to bring it upstairs. Don't ask me how. I have special skills. All right, so the first thing we're doing, I'm gathering my yarn. I'm going to make a magic ring. So the easiest way I have ever found to make a magic ring, you just take your yarn over your palm, okay, hold on to it, put this in the front. It's not like we usually do, where we put it behind. We pull this one forward, and then we pull the next one forward, slip it over your finger, and voila. Super easy. I love it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do, grab your yarn. I like to keep this, especially because we're only doing 6 stitches and it loosens. That's what makes it a magic ring. It's easy to loosen and tighten. Is not take up too much space so it doesn't get away from me. So I'm going to yarn over, chain 1. Now I like to kind of keep that little extra loop right there so it's not in my way. And we're going to do 6 single crochets into our magic loop. This is the trickiest part, I think, because it's just hard to kind of hold on to it sometimes. So be patient with yourself. So 1, 2, it's just a wobbly. Oh. Move that little knot out of the way. Just keep going around. 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so now we have this little loop, and I would say, you see how that's kind of twisted? Make sure you turn that a little bit in the direction that it's supposed to go so that you can see all of those stitches. I think they're showing up fine. All right, now I'm not gonna super tighten it right now because I think, especially on this smaller part for me anyway, if I pull this tight, it's gonna make it harder to see what's going on. So I'm going to slip stitch into this very first stitch right here that we made. So let's just put the hook through, yarn over, pull it through, and pull it through that loop, and then chain 1. Now you can go ahead and put your stitch marker here. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. I have really just been counting because I find that easier on this first row, but whatever works for you. But let's go ahead and put our stitch marker and gather a little more yarn. All right, and now at this point, I am going to tighten my loop a little bit. So I'm just gonna gently sort of tug and close that up a bit. So what we're doing for the first row is 2 single crochets in each stitch. So that's what's going to help it to get a little bit bigger. Okay, so in this very first stitch right here, we're going to single crochet, and in the same stitch, single crochet all the way around. Single crochet, single crochet. Okay, all the way around. So as we come to our stitch marker, oh, I'm all noodled up back here. All right, here, as we come to our stitch marker, this is the end of our first row. So you should have 12 stitches total here because we had 6. We did 2 in each stitch, so now we should have 12 total. So now we're going to go into the next chain, okay, and it's going to be our slip stitch. So we're going to pull through and pull through again. And before I do my chain 1, because this is just how it's working for my brain, before I do my chain 1, I'm going to take my stitch marker out and put it in this, oh, that's awfully blurry. I'm going to put it in this stitch right here behind that loop that we're in with the crochet hook. And that's sort of the rhythm that I got for it. So that's going to be our ending stitch, right? So then we're going to chain 1. All right, so now for row 3, for the next row, we're going to continue to increase just a little bit for this cute little noggin. And we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, okay? So 1 and 2, and then we're just going to do 1 single crochet and then 2 in the next stitch, okay? Oh, come here. So 2 and then 1 and then 2 in the next one and then 1. So we're doing that all the way around till we get back. Okay, so then the same thing, we do our slip stitch, move our stitch marker, and chain 1. So that's just going to be our habit for every row that we start a new row. So for the next 4 rows, we're just going to do a single crochet all the way around. And here is my ADHD trick for that. Okay, I flip it over. You can see how many little ghosties I've already done. And these are all done. So for the next 4 rows, okay, I need 4 rows. We're just doing single crochet in each one. So we're going to find that first stitch. Oh, where are you? Okay. This is why this yarn gets a little bunchy and kind of makes me crazy. So there we go. That first stitch right here. And we're just going to single crochet all the way around. And it should be 18 stitches. So that was our first round of the single crochet, and you can see what happens is when you do a single crochet on something that you're increasing, it starts to give it that little bit of a lip, that little bit of a basket shape. So now here we are, 18 stitches for that row, and we are going to go into that stitch marker stitch, move our stitch marker, okay, and put it, well, do our slip stitch, put our stitch marker right there behind it. And now what I like to do is just do a little tally mark, just 1. I know that's my first row done, and then that way I don't have to worry about my ADHD. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to go all the way back around 3 more times for the next row. Hey guys, so sorry for all of the silence during this, what seems to be a very long fast forward. I did have some really cute Halloween music playing in the background that I thought was copyright free. but it turns out it was not, so I had to remove it from everything. So in the meantime, enjoy all the cute little ghosties for your entertainment. All right, I tried to change the camera angle a little bit so I wouldn't keep bumping into things. We'll see if that works. So we're on our last row here of single crochet. We're going into our stitch marker stitch, move the stitch marker, and slip stitch, replace the stitch marker, and chain one. Okay, so now you can see we have this cute little cap shape that's starting to happen. Kind of like a little acorn top is what I was thinking yesterday when I was making one of these. So now for this next row, for row 9, we're going to increase one more time. All right, this time we're going to do, so we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch. All right, just like we did before, 2 in one stitch, and then we're going to count 5 single crochet stitches. So in each of the next 5 stitches, we're just doing single crochet. So single, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, there we go. So 5 single crochet, and then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So right here, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. We're doing that all the way around. Now, one thing about this is you'll notice, like, as this curves, it can be a little tricky. So it's okay if you need to turn it up a little bit to see your stitches, to make sure, kind of pop it up, make sure you're going into the right spaces for that. Okay, so the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do again, not double crochet, 2 single crochets in the same space. That's how my brain works. I think double, that's not what we're doing. Single crochets all the way around. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on that last one. All right. So again, then we're going into our stitch marker space and getting ready for the next row. Slip stitch. Voila. Oh, get in there. And chain 1. So again, for this, so for the next 3 rows, 10, 11, 12, if you want to make it a little bit of a taller ghost, you can do a little bit of a taller ghost. That's okay. That extra row is not going to hurt anything. But same thing, I'm just going to do like I just did for the first go around, and for the next 3 rows, I'm going to do single crochet, do my 3 little tally marks, and then I'll meet you back to finish up our little ruffly shell stitch edges. Yay! All right, so we are on our very last row. Take that stitch marker out, do my slip stitch, and like a rebel, I'm just going to chain 1 without putting that stitch marker back. We don't need it anymore. It's fine. So no more stitch marker, because now we're just going to do a lovely little round of ruffly edges, and we're going to use a shell stitch to do that. So with the shell stitch, we are going to do double crochet now. We're going to switch to a double crochet, but what we're going to do is skip that first little space right there, and we're going into the stitch. We're going to double crochet 5 times into the same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Boom, just like that. So to anchor our shell stitch, we're going to skip. So if you push this to the side a little bit, right, if it's right here, it's hard, it's easy to miss that next stitch. if you kind of wobble this to the side, you see the very next stitch that's right here. We're going to skip that and we're going into the next stitch and we're going to, oops, in theory, skip that one and go into the next one and we're going to slip stitch. Isn't it funny how sometimes when you try to do things really, really slowly, like you mess up? I don't know. Is that just me? Is that just me? Like when I try to slow it down, that's when I mess up. So, all right, so now we're going to skip the next stitch. So that's a typical shell stitch pattern. So we've got our slip stitch here, skip a stitch, and into this one, we're doing 5 double crochets again. 2. I can hear people yelling outside. I hope you guys can't hear that. I can't really hear what they're saying, but the joys of living in an apartment complex. I hope you're okay. All right, so that is, let me see, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into that one. And then again, we're skipping the one next to it, and we're slip stitching into the next one. Skip, and 5 double crochet into the next one. So we've done our very last shell stitch, and ideally in a better world where I am really good at math and such things, there would be a couple of extra stitches here to create this same exact situation as we did all the way around, but we don't live in that world. So instead, I have just been going into the very next stitch right here and slip stitching that very last one right there. It is okay. No one's ever gonna know, I promise. And then once you do that, then you're going to yarn over, pull through, cut yourself a little tail there, pull that through, get the hair out of it, and then just pull that nice and tight. It's fine. It's a lovely little pattern. So then we have our cute little ghost shape, and we're gonna tuck our ends in and give our little face. So let's get our ends woven in. So I've just got this nice big plastic needle, which I actually prefer a lot for this. I tried to use one of my other, just regular like metal needles, and they definitely like to get hung up on here, and that's just kind of a pain, and nobody wants things to be difficult. I'm gonna put my little stitch marker back on my paper pad so that it doesn't end up somewhere in the carpet. And we don't want the kitty cat to find it either. That would be unfortunate. All right, so basically for the top one, pull it just a little tighter. If you want, close that circle up a little bit more. And then we're just going to go straight down through the top of that head. Oh, where did you go? It fell out. It's okay. It's in here. We're just going to pull that through gently. And all of this, when we're weaving the ends in, when we're putting the little faces on, we're going to be very gentle about it because you don't want to pull your stitches. It's just not necessary. So I like to go in the direction, whichever direction the yarn wants to go. And I'm just going to weave in a stitch and weave into another stitch. And why not just do 3, just for good measure for today, and just really gently, and then cut that. Ooh. Don't have to stress too much about this because again, these are just decoration. They're not going to be necessarily manhandled. Move the table back a little bit. The light is getting all dotty. Like you could let, a small child play with these, but I would be cautious. I would only let a kiddo play with these if you're doing the faces with the yarn like I'm going to show you. You could put faces on, like you could glue googly eyes on there. You could put little pieces of felt on there, whatever you have, make it your own, make it adorable, make it fun. So this one, again, I'm just going to go the direction the yarn wants to go. Pull it through a stitch. Pull it through a couple of more stitches. Oh, get you in the camera there. And just gently. You don't have to like really pull it tight, because be gentle with your ghost. They love you. All right, and then maybe just one more time. And boom. And cut that down. And then we're going to turn it right side out again and decide where you want to put your face. Now it's pretty much the same way around. So what I am using for that is just this yarn. It's about the same. I think it's pretty much about the same weight as the white yarn that I'm using. So that worked out. I just happened to have it in my stash. I did try to initially use some embroidery yarn on, let's see, which one? Or embroidery thread rather. On these I used embroidery thread for the eyes, and I just glued a little piece of fabric for the mouths. This one I did embroidery thread, but I had to really go through, oh no wait, this one I lied. This is embroidery thread, and then I did the yarn for the mouth. So maybe I did yarn for both. I did yarn for both. I lied, sorry. I did yarn for both of those. But this one is embroidery thread, and I did have to go over it several times. And it's fine, but the struggle is the space in between the stitches can kind of be a little challenging, so just be aware. So I'm going to tie a knot on one end. And again, talking about that space in the stitches, I'm going to do like a double knot on the end of this. Am I going to get it on the first try? It's one of those things where it's so hard to get the knot on top of the other knot. Arg! I didn't. Okay. Take two. There we go. So just for a little added thickness there, because it is really easy to get through those stitches, especially if you pull too tight. So for these little eyes, I just pulled a little note out of embroidery, and I just did a French knot, what's called a French knot. So I'm just going to pick a space and kind of line the spaces up, and I'm going to actually go through a stitch. So I'm going to go through the stitch, because going through the space, it could just come right back out and just fall back out. So just through the stitch gently until I feel it stop. And then I'm going to take my needle and my yarn, and I'm going to just loop it around like that one time. And then I'm going to go just below where that stitch was into the stitch, or where I started in that stitch rather. And then pull it through very gently. Don't pull too tight, very gently. And boom, you have like a nice little round eye. So now I'm gonna kind of see where that stitch was and line it up. So it's right about here in this row. And I'm gonna move over. And again, up through the stitch. Is that blurry? And gently, 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 because you don't want to pull this knot loose. And once again, just around. We in there? Close up. Okay, so let me get you guys a close up. So we're here, and we're just going to yarn it over a little bit, and then go staying in the same stitch area. Pull that through. And just very gently pull that yarn through, and we have our other little eye shape. There we go. So now my kiddo, I said, okay, if you want little ghosts with all the different expressions, my child does character design. That is the thing that they do all the time, every day. So I said, okay, so send me some expressions. So they did. They sent me an array of expressions, and I think we're going to keep it simple here today, and we're going to do this one. So just a very simple little stitch. I'm not even like changing the yarn up or anything, just staying simple. We're going to, let's see, find where I want the little mouth to be. and go through a stitch and go through that next stitch. Is that going to work? And very gently. Yeah. How cute. Kind of a little indifferent ghost. And that's all I did for this one as well with the smile. I just started here and then backstitched and backstitched to get that sort of seamless. So now I'm going to very gently turn our little guy inside out and just run through a couple of stitches in the back. So kind of making sure to stay in the back there. And this time I'm actually going to go through this loop that I'm making and carefully pull that kind of tight, and then maybe go through those stitches. Voila, and cut that off. Again, I wouldn't stress too much about finishing the back if this is just going to be for display, because it'll be fine. So there we go. Oh, they're so cute. Now you have a friend. Yay. Oh, so cute. I'm gonna give this one, this one's been played around with a bit, so I need to stretch this one out some. And you can stretch them a little bit, you know, if you want to. There we go. Now you're getting a little taller. So yarn is gonna loosen up a bit. You could also stuff them with some polyfill if you wanted to. That kind of gets into the oh no, I'm gonna say it wrong, amigurumi. But then you would also want a bottom probably, but I think they're just fine as they are. Happy little ghosts. Yay. Okay, so thanks for hanging out with me today, you guys. Let me know if you're making cute little ghosts too and what else you might like to see. I'm kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, like Halloween, autumn is like my favorite time of year ever. So I can't believe that I haven't done more along the lines of like autumnal crafts and spooky crafts and Halloween things. So we'll just like put a little ghost on my shoulder. I don't know if that's gonna work. So if you guys enjoyed this video, it's like my good ghost and not my evil ghost, my indifferent ghost. There we go. Oh no, yeah, it's like I'm not having it. I don't care. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share. I appreciate you so much. If you're already a subscriber, thank you guys for hanging out all the time, coming back, and I will have another video for you guys very soon. Take care, go forth, be creative, be crafty, do all the things. Bye-bye.